So let's talk about our speaker blueprint, part number 2. Again, you want to speak from a universal idea. So you put your ideas in the chat earlier and you shared. So some of you may see some overlap, like, oh, there are people who are talking about mental health, but I want to talk about that too. So how do you present even an idea that is so talked about, so popular, but in a unique way? Well, that's the power of building out your talk with experts who can support you in that experience.
And more so in a universal way, right? So you may be based, in a certain state, a certain city.
We had Dublin in the building.
Right? Yeah. But how do you have? No, I want to ask Bianca, what's that joke? Because I'm being drawn into into that conversation. But how do you have this idea that crosses countries? That when you speak, because that's the type of, and I'll be really honest, whenever a TEDx organizer is looking to select someone, they want to know, does this person have the ability to be cross-cultural in their conversation? Mm-hmm. Do they have the ability to be cross-national in their perspective? Mm-hmm. Right? So, me being a native of Trinidad, growing up in the Caribbean, anytime you look at a US-based movie, let's say Will Smith, was it Independence Day? I think it was Independence Day, aliens attacking, right? And as a Caribbean boy, the concept of the world ending means America is under attack, so the world is ended, right? so I always be like, okay, this is in New York, so what do you mean the world ending? I'm here, I'm okay. so the TEDx stage wants you to have a cross-national view, right? So you're not going to bring value to the stage if you speak from the place of privilege or from a US-based perspective.
Or from just a singular cultural perspective. Like, I'm reminded of Denise, who had a passion about dismantling the systems of racism.
And she's from Canada.
But she's originally from St. Vincent.
Right.
And she has a lot of friends in the US and even all around the globe.
But she did her first talk, mm-hmm. right? And she was able to have the discussion about racism, but it was so inclusive.
Yes.
And it was so cross-national.
And it was inclusive without being compromising her values and her positions, right? So how do you talk to another race about the ills of this idea without making them feel isolated, Jackie? Wow, that's a really dynamic dance that you have to do if your idea is controversial. And it's okay. TEDx welcomes controversial ideas.
So by her talk alone, we just addressed that, one of the first myths. Does my talk have to be local? No, you can deliver a TEDx talk in any city, in any state, in any nation. All right. So sometimes you tell yourself, well, I could only pitch myself to TEDx stages that are right on my street. And you're like waiting one day to see TEDx pops up, TEDx New York or TEDx my street. You're like, okay, all right, that increases my chances. No, you don't have to be local to be able to land your TEDx talk. All right. Myth number 2, you don't need to know the organizer. All right. Sometimes say, oh yeah, that's for those who know who's connected in the in crew. That's not the case, because a TEDx organizer wants a sizzling stage, because that organizer still has to submit, those same videos to the TEDx platform that has to be vetted. So it's not about friends or who you're connected to, but it's really about getting the best speakers for the stage. Yeah. All right, so it's highly vetted. Myth number 3, I can sell my products or services. Nope, we cleared that up before. You can't. All right, you're not able to do that. All right. Myth number 4.
I have to speak for a long time. Some of y'all are feeling anxious right now because you're like, oh my God, I got to speak on stage in front of all of these people. And it's going to be for like an hour or more. And while you feel like you're capable, if you were speaking to a smaller audience, I want you to know that you can take that same message and guess what? You only have to speak for 18 minutes or less. okay? 18 minutes or less. So we actually encourage you to build up your talk that is less than 18 minutes.
Mhm.
So if you happen to run over or get a little under, you'll still be in that sweet spot of a compelling TEDx talk, okay? Myth number 5, I have to speak live. No, so you don't have to be local and you actually don't have to speak live as well. Some TEDx events give you an opportunity to submit a pre-recorded talk, right? And you can absolutely still participate, just like Karen did, right? Karen Pudetti, she's the founder of a multi-million dollar beauty business. She actually never gave a speech in front of a large audience. Yes, she's a CEO, she's powerful in her own right, but she had a limited number of people that she was talking to in
As a
her
speaker.
career.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so she landed her first TEDx talk because she was still nervous. She's like, I don't know if I can do this live. So she landed her first TEDx talk and she gave it virtually. So that was actually a benefit for her because she was able to use a teleprompter, but still be compelling in her message.
And it was pre-recorded. All right. So that's definitely something that has happened in the TEDx stage, especially during the pandemic. The events have become much more versatile, and that opportunity is also available to you as well.
I have to be well known. Myth number 6. How many of you thought this? And just give me a virtual show of hands. You thought that you had to be well known, or you had to at least have
A
like,
big brand,
a big
or
brand?
let me see. Anyone?
Raise your hand.
All right.
I see you. I see you. Joy. Yep. I see you. I see you, Danielle.
All right.
Yeah. So this is a myth, Kinsey. You don't have to be well known, right? They, of course, they're not looking for amateurs, but you don't necessarily have to have a huge following on social media, etc.
Like
Anae,
Mhm.
right? Anae is someone who many of you can probably relate to. She's a career woman, right? She spent 30 plus years, Charmaine, in the field of human resources. She only started her speaking and coaching business 2 years ago, right? So she was super new to this, but she had a compelling message to share, right? So you don't have to be well known. You don't have to have a huge following on social media for you to be made for the TEDx.
And we were able just to support her to see that success, you can borrow from your present success. All right. Because sometimes when we think of the TEDx stage, okay, I have to start from scratch, I have to start from ground zero, but you can borrow from your present success. How many of us have worked 10 plus years? Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
10, right? 10 plus years, right? So your experience of just your career, your professional career, you can borrow from that success and bring that to the stage. She had 30 plus, years of experience in HR, working at the C-suite level, and yet still had that limited belief. Am I still ready for the stage? As a matter of fact, in coaching her, she said this was her goal in the next 10 to 15 years. She wanted to add 10 to 15 years to her present experience to say to herself, I'm ready for the stage.
And that 10 to 15 years is not promised. Hello, somebody.
That's right. So she realized that, hey, I have material presently from my experience. And, she's based in the UK, and she was able to we were able to support her in launching and landing her first TEDx talk.
Wow. So my question to you is, are you next, right? We promise to give you the strategies that would make you made for the TEDx stage. So you have the formula, you have everything you need to say, thank you, Imwale. I'll give them a hug for you. Thank you, Imwale and Chantel. I have what I need. I know that I'm able. I know that I'm enough. And I know what the TEDx organizers are looking for.